You were told rooftop solar means a zero electricity bill. Maybe you were told 300 free units a month. Maybe you were told payback in 5 years. And somewhere between that conversation and your first bill, the numbers stopped adding up. This video is about why, not vaguely, not with disclaimers, with the actual regulation, the actual law, and the actual physics. The scheme driving most of these installations right now is PM Surya Ghar. Rupees 78,000 maximum subsidy, up to 300 free units a month. The money is real. The 300 units is achievable. But this scheme doesn't tell you three things that determine whether your savings match what you were promised. Nobody does until now. Exporting power and importing power are not the same price, not even close. In Maharashtra, net metered surplus sells for rupees 2.82 a unit this year, while the same household pays upward to import. Same wire, same meter, less than half the price. Gujarat does something that will genuinely surprise you. The rate you get on the day you commission your system gets locked in for the system's entire life, 25 years. Your neighbor installs the same panels 2 years later, different rate, frozen forever. Uttar Pradesh cuts the market entirely, specifically Greater Noida under NPCL. Settles your year end surplus credits at a flat rupees 2 per unit, not linked to APPC, not linked to what electricity costs that year, just rupees 2 as per their current net metering terms. So your surplus is being credited at a fraction of what you paid to import. But here's what nobody tells you next. That surplus doesn't wait for you indefinitely. Maharashtra gives you 3 years to use it. Miss that window and you don't lose everything. You lose exactly half. The regulation says 50% lapses. Gujarat doesn't give you 3 years. It doesn't give you 3 months, one billing cycle. Whatever's unused when that cycle closes is gone. Delhi nets monthly, settles at year end, waives banking charges but only for 5 years. After that, that changes too. And Karnataka has no banking at all. Every cycle, your surplus pays out in cash. Nothing accumulates, nothing expires. Four states, four completely different rules, all called net metering. And none of this is the charge solar was never going to touch in the first place. Fixed charges are built on your connection's capacity, not your consumption. A month where your solar produced every unit you used and you imported zero. This charge is still on the bill. In Gujarat, it's between rupees 15 and rupees 70. In UP, it's rupees 90 to 110 per kilowatt. Karnataka had 5 separate distribution companies, each proposed a different number. The regulator rejected every single one, then issued one unified rate for the whole state. Solar was designed to offset energy charges. A fixed charge was never an energy charge. But here's the one trap that actually works in your favor if you know it exists. Indian domestic tariffs are telescopic. Each unit is charged at the rate of the slab it falls into, not the highest rate applied to your whole bill. A Rajasthan household at 320 units a month is climbing 3 separate rate steps. Drop that to 230 units with solar, and you might not just reduce your bill, you fall off a pricing rung entirely. The saving is larger than the simple units times rate calculation most people do. Power cut hits, full sun, panels go dark, and your first thought is, did something break? Nothing broke. Your inverter obeyed the law. There's a name for it, what it did, anti islanding. When the grid goes dead, a lineman goes out to repair it. He isolates the line. He assumes it's safe. If your inverter kept running, it would still be feeding that exact section. He touches it, your panels would be the reason he doesn't come home. Anti landing protection exists for that person, not for your bill, not for your convenience, for him. The law is precise: 2 seconds to cut off after detecting an island, 60 seconds of stable grid before reconnection is permitted. On a stressed grid day, your panels may cycle on and off repeatedly. Every time they do, they're asking the same question: is it safe yet? Until the answer is yes for 60 consecutive seconds, they stay off. Now, the gap between the number printed on your panel and the number your meter reads, it isn't one thing, it's several, all happening simultaneously. Before heat, before the inverter, there's a geometry problem your rooftop may already have. How much of the sun's energy actually lands flat against your panel's face depends on two angles, your panel's tilt and the sun's height in the sky. There's one relationship between them. When it's wrong, you lose output before the panel has done anything at all. A flat mounted panel in Delhi in December, when the sun barely climbs the sky, can lose nearly a third of available sunlight to geometry alone. Not to heat, not to dust, just to the angle being wrong. The right tilt for your location isn't random. It's approximately your site's latitude. Delhi around 29 degrees, Chennai around 13. Most rooftop installations are mounted at whatever angle the roof happens to sit at. That compounds everything that comes after. The wattage on your panel was measured in a laboratory, 1000 watts of sunlight per square meter. Cell temperature held at exactly 25 degrees Celsius. Your rooftop is not a laboratory. Manufacturers also publish a more realistic figure called NOCT for a standard 400-watt panel. Under those milder NOCT conditions, 294 watts. Still not even at the harsh case, just at realistic. The gap is already 26% before a single hot afternoon. That temperature coefficient, the number that tells you how much output drops per degree above 25, is on every panel's datasheet. Download yours right now. Adani, Wari, Vikram Solar, all publicly available. Find the section called temperature characteristics. That one number is about to become very relevant. Dark glass under direct sun runs significantly hotter than the air around it. On a Delhi summer afternoon at 42 degrees ambient, full sunlight, cell temperature works out to over 73 degrees Celsius. Feed that into the temperature coefficient and you are losing 19% of rated output to heat. On the best solar day of the year, the hottest, sunniest afternoon is simultaneously the one where your panel is most thermally stressed. The efficiency number on your inverter data sheet, 97, 98%, that's the peak figure measured at ideal load. Actual efficiency varies with how hard the inverter is working. Early morning, late afternoon, cloudy patches, efficiency drops. The industry uses a time weighted average across the whole day. The result for a realistic inverter, 97.3%, not the 98 on the box. The gap looks small, but it proves that a peak number from a datasheet cannot predict annual yield. Performance ratio is how all of these gets combined. And the critical thing about it, these losses multiply, not add. Each one acts on what's left after the previous. Temperature, dust, inverter efficiency, wiring resistance, panel mismatch, light induced degradation, system downtime. Multiply all seven together, and the result is around 74%. That's where the industry benchmark of 75 to 85% for Indian rooftop solar actually comes from. Not a rough estimate, 7 compounding losses, 3 derived directly from physics, 4 from a globally used standard. The last assumption, the 300 units promise, depends on how many hours of effective sunlight your location actually gets, not how many hours the sun was up. That number is meaningless for yield estimation. A city with 12 hours of daylight might have only 5.5 peak sun hours. The early morning and late afternoon light isn't strong enough to count. City specific values for India are published freely by MNRE and NISE. Last one, and the most disproportionate. A shadow the size of your palm falling across a fraction of one cell can cut panel output by a third. Every cell in a panel carries the same current. A shaded cell can't keep up, but it has to carry the full current anyway. That drives it into reverse bias. Instead of generating power, it starts dissipating heat. Bypass diodes in the junction box on the back of every BIS certified panel are there to stop the damage. One diode covers roughly a third of the panel. It activates, routes current, and around that entire third, not just the shaded cell, the whole third. 267 watts from a 400-watt panel, a 33% drop from a shadow that never fully covered a single cell. Every number your installer gave you came from assumptions. Assumptions about your panel's angle, the heat it would face, the dust it would accumulate, a shadow that wasn't in the site survey. Now you have the tools to check every one of those assumptions yourself. That's the difference between trusting a sales pitch and understanding your own system.